We have another edition of the Highland Lakes virtual podcast celebrating Pride Week here on the HLEC channel. We want to welcome in one of our members talking to me. I'm your host, Jennifer Fierro. We want to welcome Steve Killebrew, a Barnett resident who's had an extensive background. We're going to talk to him about his life. The other thing that we always love about Steve is how generous he is. He has opened his home. He cares very much about our community, and he does that by his attendance and with his wallet. And we can't thank him enough for that. Steve, thanks for joining us today.
You're very welcome. It's nice to be able to do this. I haven't ever done this before, so hopefully I don't screw it up too badly.
Just be yourself. That's
okay.
why we wanted to talk to you. Just
Awesome.
Be yourself. You live here in the Highland Lakes. You relocated here, correct?
Right, yes. I am an Austin native. I was born in Austin, and I lived in Austin 54 years. About 4 years ago, I relocated to Barnett, Texas, which is quite a change from living in downtown Austin. I was pretty nervous because I moved from a very liberal place to a very conservative place. Also had a very easy time in Austin. I heard Barnett wasn't quite the same for gays and lesbians. I've actually had an okay time in Barnett. People have been very welcoming. People have been very kind to me and stuff. So the last 4 years has been really good. No traffic. I love that here like crazy. I'm an openly gay man, and that hasn't mattered. I've been out since I was 13. In Austin, it's very easy to be out. People don't care. It's usually not an issue. In Barnett, I had heard from a few gay people when I moved here that it was quite different, but not an issue here. I'm even the secretary of the HLA in the neighborhood where I live, so nobody cares. It's a good little town. I'd recommend trying small town life if you're from a big city and want a change. It's not a big deal. Just be yourself. There may be a few people that give you trouble, but they don't matter. It's been a good change, good life change.
Was there anything about moving to Barnett that surprised you as an openly gay man?
There's allies here. I expected it to be all Republican people and all family, oriented and very religious. I did find very religious. I did find very family oriented. But I also found people that were reasonable and kind and people that I thought would have an issue with me, especially I go to the gym, I lift weights, especially the guys in the weight room. I thought, okay, here we go. In Austin, I belonged to a gym that had a whole lot of gay men. It's easy to be gay when everybody else around you is gay. Walk into a weight room at a gym and you're the only gay guy. It's a little bit uncomfortable at first. You always get the questions about you because you're the new guy in the weight room. You married, you divorced, you have a girlfriend, you got kids, and I've got usually the 3-question rule. If somebody asks me 3 questions, they're still asking more, I go ahead and tell them. I don't lead with, I'm a gay guy. I first talk about interests. I ride motorcycles, I like to fish, I like to travel, things like that. People ask 3 questions, then I go ahead and tell them. It was a different experience. People were quiet after I told them. After that, some people were a little reserved for, a week or two, but then people warmed up, and it's really not an issue here. Well, it's a good place.
I am glad to hear that because I think what we have both found is that there are more allies. They're just not vocal about it. What words of advice, because I know you're a man of a certain age.
Yeah, I'm 58 years old.
Okay, so you've seen a lot then. So you were around for Stonewall. You were a boy.
Yeah, I was young at Stonewall because Stonewall was in the 60s and I was in single digits still age. So I was a teenager in the 70s. So I lived through the AIDS epidemic. I saw that and stuff and even lost a partner to AIDS. It would be harder just to conceal who I am than to just let the chips fall where they may. Of course, I also have nothing to lose. I'm, financially independent. I don't have to worry about my job. I don't have to worry about my family, friends, and all that other things that other people may have to worry about. But I guess we don't have to worry about the job anymore. Thank you, Supreme Court. Yay, I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime. For me, it's really harder to pretend. I'd rather just own it because there's nothing wrong with being gay, lesbian, transgender. I'd rather just own it up front. If somebody has a problem with it, at least I know who they are and they can just back away if they don't like it. The other thing about me being an openly gay man is when I was young, we didn't have the internet. You think you're the only one. I learned that after I moved to Barnett. People here, there would be gay people in town and they thought they were the only one. And I would know both of them. And so here, it's still sort of the same thing, even though we have internet and we have Scruff and Grindr and all that stuff. A lot of people still feel alone. And so young people make mistakes, think they have to end their life and stuff. I'd rather be out and about and people know me as a gay man that was succeeded in life. And then people could see me and know that, guess what? It gets better. You may get harassed in high school or junior high and stuff, but guess what? It gets better. And those people move on, you move on, and life is good.
I'm glad you said that because I have a male family member who's a teenager who is gay. And I know that there are other role models out there that he can find on media, but no one he can personally see. We do have a cousin who's in his mid-40s like me who also is gay, so that individual would qualify, but they're not around each other enough. I'm glad you talked about the advice. What else would you tell if you could talk to my teenage family member who's male, a gay male? What would you tell him?
Don't be afraid. It's going to be okay. It may seem rough right now. Be yourself. Don't worry about the future. The future will work itself out. You'll go off to college, and for the people that are mean to you, best thing you can do to get them back is to have a successful life. Go off, make your way in the world, make your money, and leave all that stuff behind. Don't let these other people live rent-free in your head, because you're smart, you'll get past it, you'll survive it, and it gets better, believe me. When you leave school, like public high school to college, you leave all that behind, you start a new life, where you can be genuine and make your own way, be successful. That's the best way to pay those people back. I was teased a little bit in Austin, but in Austin, at the time I grew up in, I don't know if it's the same way now, but when I grew up, it was almost uncool to make fun of people that were different. It made you less of an intellectual, made you kind of a moron. The city of Austin had created a nice climate, nice culture where you embraced weird. Like, Austin always says, keep Austin weird. Well, when I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, it was even more favorable to keep Austin weird. Now we've had our native numbers diluted, and back then it was, yay, we're weird. Let's celebrate that instead of being ashamed of it. And people weren't teased for being gay or lesbian. In fact, I started going to the gay bars in Austin when I was 16, and it was with kids from high school. Now, I don't think you can go into a bar when you're young, but back then, it was a very different world, and it wasn't a dangerous world like it is now. Just don't be afraid. You're the only person that can steer your life in the right way, and go for it. You have nothing to lose by going for it, and everything to lose by holding back. You just sit at home unhappy and stuff, thinking you're the only one. You're not. We're all out there. We're successful. We've got good lives. Now we've got laws by the Supreme Court, a ruling by the Supreme Court to protect our jobs. So it's not like the good day. It could be not like the bad days. When I was young, you could be thrown out of your house if your landlord found out you were gay or lesbian. Now most cities have anti-discrimination clauses to protect you there. So now you got housing protection and you have work protection. Go for it. You have nothing to lose.
And you can get married.
That's right. Get married.
Do you mind talking about growing up during the 80s, during AIDS, when it was considered a gay man's plague?
It was scary. At first, when it first happened, there was so much that we didn't know. Not knowing what caused it, not knowing how to keep from getting it. The unknown was the first part about it, and that was really, really scary. People thought it was poppers. People thought it was too much sun tanning. There was a lot of fear, and then we finally found out that it was caused by a virus. People got stigmatized, especially after they got sick. People would have dark spots on their skin. It was called KS, and it was a visual reminder of what's going on with people's bodies. And so people got stigmatized like that. Gay men that were healthy, like me, I'm HIV negative. Gay men like me even got stigmatized. I put on a little bit of weight, and I've always been pretty healthy, and I put on a little bit of weight, and so I shed it. And next thing you knew, the rumor was going around at work that I was dying of AIDS. And it's like, okay, no, I got fat, so now I'm trying not to be fat. It was a different world, and then you started seeing people dying. In Austin, I quit counting when I'd lost 65 of my friends to AIDS alone, all gay men, and some of them had bad relations with their families. They'd been put out, and it really stays with you when you hold a mother's hand that had disowned her son, and then he died, and she wasn't there to say goodbye to him. So it was a bad time. We are living with the antivirals and PrEP. We are living in good days. I hope we never ever have something like that again. You just can't believe, the young people today just would not even be able to believe how bad it was when you bury your friends who are 20 years old.
And of course, the flip side to that is, at the time, the government didn't seem like it cared until it was discovered that AIDS was not a gay anything. It was a disease that affected anybody and everybody, even people who had not experienced sex.
Yeah, our government really got a slow start on it, kind of like what we did with COVID. Ronald Reagan was the president at the time, and he really didn't take it seriously because it didn't personally impact him until Rock Hudson got sick. Someone he actually knew got sick, and then our federal government finally started throwing money at it for research, looking for treatment, looking for cures, looking for a vaccine, which has been very elusive. We still don't have one today, of course. And getting the word out on what behaviors we could change to try to avoid spreading it. Like a lot of things with the LGBTQ community, we kind of get put on the back burner until it becomes a crisis. And that's exactly what happened. It started getting the straight people. It started getting children that had gotten blood products. And so they realized that, hey, it's not just the gay folks getting it because we're putting poppers up our nose. It's children getting it. Nothing is worse than seeing a child suffering from AIDS. My partner has cancer right now. And when you go for treatment, you see a child that's dying with no hair or it's covered with KS spots. That is just unbelievable. No one should have to have that. We're living in good times now compared to where we've been. And I hope we continue to do that.
What was it like growing up in Austin as a gay teenager? Describe the gay scene to me. And is it different now?
Oh yeah, it's much different. With the internet, we didn't have apps to meet other people like we do on the phones right now, Grindr and Scruff, that we have now. But we usually went to bars to socialize. And a lot of the bars would have a Sunday beer bust. So you would just sit there and drink beer with your friends and solve the world's problems. It was more of a one-on-one thing than what we have now. In fact, some people have even speculated that the internet was kind of the downward turn for the gay bars and things. Gay bars were used for hookups, of course, but they were also really important for socialization. You spend your whole work week with predominantly straight people, and then there's nothing wrong with that. Straight people are good too, but it's not the same as being around your own kind, hearing what they experienced during the week, hearing how they overcame what they faced during the week, hearing their ideas, and we talked about our families. A lot of people, gay folks, you come out, your families toss you aside. Hearing what had happened to them, comforting one another. It's kind of like church for us on Sundays, the Sunday beer bus, and then country and western dancing was probably one of my favorite things to do. Friday and Saturday nights, you go to the gay country bar and two-step. And I used to teach two-step even, which was kind of bizarre thinking back on that now. But, we had bars which were in Austin. They were kind of segregated, men and women. The lesbians had their bars, the gay guys had their bars. But essentially the gay bars, though, everybody's welcome, even straight people. And you can even use whatever bathroom you wanted, which is really strange. I have to remember that now when I go dancing at a straight country bar. If, there's not room in the men's room, I have to realize I can't go to the ladies' room, And so it's like, okay, here it goes. But I had straight friends that would go out dancing with us, especially women, because they didn't have to worry about being hit on by men, drunk men and stuff.
I remember going to Charlie's a couple of times with our cousin. He telling me, you'll see straight men here. And I'm like, well, why? And he said, because they're looking for the straight women who come here with their gay best friend. Yeah. And they come here thinking they can drink and not get hit on. And lo and behold, they get hit on. What do you think it is about the LGBTQ community that makes it such a welcoming place?
A lot of us are looking for something. We're looking for comfort. We're looking to have other people like us. And I think because we felt shunned ourselves in school, in churches, and I'm not beating on churches, but churches haven't been kind to us. I think we, in turn, try to make up for that by hugging each other, loving on one another, and being more welcoming to other people because we've wanted that ourselves. And now we've got a venue that we can turn it around, like the Highland Lakes Equality Center with its allies and things. We can turn it around and be welcoming to others, treat others as we would have wanted to be treated ourselves way back in the day. Particularly people like me. I was excommunicated from my church when I was young. They preached about homosexuality homosexuality being wrong, you burn in hell. And I was brought before the church. They told me I needed to say I was sorry and wouldn't do it again. I refused. They excommunicated me. And a lot of people like me have had experiences like that, because in the 70s and 80s, churches, for the most part, did not welcome us. And so, we've been pushed away ourselves. So we've always wanted a sense of belonging, always needed a sense of belonging, always wanted people to love us and stuff. So we kind of turn that around and try to make it more receptive to other people. We try to be more receptive, try to be more loving to others, because we know how bad it hurt when we got it ourselves, when we were mistreated ourselves.
Have you healed that part of your life?
Oh yeah, I'm good. I've had plenty of practice healing. I've had a lot of good people in my life that helped me get here. And I'm not saying I had a hard time, because growing up in Austin, being a liberal, accepting city, it's a piece of cake. Religion was a bump, but I was lucky in a way that a lot of gay people are not. I have two parents that cared more about their children than their religion. And when I came out, my parents very much both stood in my corner, told me it didn't matter. My father in particular was just wonderful. And I even had a team in Austin, and it was all gay men on the team except for my father, a volleyball team. And my dad was the only straight guy playing on this all gay volleyball team. My parents were completely accepting. And my younger brother is also a gay man. There's only two of us, so my folks got two gay children. They were lucky. So
I agree. That is a blessing. That is a blessing.
But my parents, my parents and my grandparents, my grandmother told me I was gay before I knew I was gay. When I was 11, 12 years old, my grandmother even told me, I think you're gay. And that's very progressive for a person at that time to tell her grandson. I knew I had nothing adverse coming out. When I finally came out, I got caught in a sex act. So that's how I came out. I would have chosen it to be different, but nevertheless, Mom walked in and saw some stuff she shouldn't have seen. But I knew everything would be okay before, because both sets of grandparents and my parents are really super people.
What was it about you at 10, 11 that your grandmother just knew?
She later told me it was a little boy that I had with me all the time. She kept calling him my boyfriend, and it at the time rubbed me the wrong way, even though it was the truth. That having a little male friend all the way around, and I never had any interest in girls. I've never even had a girlfriend. And so my grandmother, old people, they've seen it all. They've had the time to accumulate knowledge. They've had life experiences. They know more things because they've simply had more time to gain knowledge. And so they've all seen it before. And she knew gay people. And she said, I think you're going to be gay. And I was like, really? And she's right.
And it doesn't sound like you regret it. Steve, anything else you want to say? Wrap this thing up for us?
I just want to tell everybody, be happy. Be happy with who you are. You're a good person. You're going to have some people tell you you're not. Don't let them live rent-free in your head. It's not worth it. I've seen people agonize over trying to be something they're not and letting other people live rent-free in their head. Don't waste your life doing that. Make your own path. It may not be easy. It may take you a little longer than you think, but in the end, it's worth it. Be yourself. Just be happy. It's worth it. It's good.
And happy Pride Week, everyone.
Happy Pride.
Steve Killebrew, thank you so much. This is Jennifer Fierro. We look forward to the next podcast here on the Highland Lakes Equality Channel.